I have never played Final Fantasy VII. I've seen spoilers, I've watched Advent Children over and over, and I've seen references to the story and characters. So when I was asked if I wanted the chance to get a review copy of the game, I jumped at the opportunity. Not only as a chance to experience the story firsthand for the first real time, but also because I can give some insight as someone without a perspective painted with nostalgia. At least not as much as you'd get from a diehard fan of the original game, which isn't a bad thing. Long story short, I'm having a lot of fun, and you don't need to have played it before to have fun. I'm losing track of time playing through the quests and eager to get back into it when I'm away. The combat is flashy and refreshing, the story is captivating, and the addition of new tech giving life to these characters through great voice acting and animations has me so dang invested in these characters I never even knew existed in this universe. And I've only gotten to Chapter 5. It's touching on every aspect that I would expect from a Final Fantasy game, and doing it well. It may not appeal to every gamer out there, but what it offers, it delivers with quality. At least in my opinion. Before we go any further, I do want to get this out of the way. Yes, the game is beautiful, from graphical fidelity to combat and character animations. That alone, however, doesn't sell me on a game. Final Fantasy XV is probably one of the best looking games I've played in recent history, and I'm not secretive about my burning distaste for it after my initial experience with it on console. I know things got better with the PC Royal Edition, but my point is that my enjoyment and praise for the Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't stem from it being eye candy. It's just the beautiful wrapping on an otherwise complete and polished package. That being said, animations do play a big role in why I enjoy the combat so much. The combat already feels good, but it would be very jarring for me personally if it didn't look fluid or natural on top of it. Fortunately, that's not a concern here, so I was able to enjoy the basic mechanics to the fullest. At least I'm trying to. The system they've employed is easy to get into but has a slight learning curve to master. Not to say it's complicated or difficult, but it has a flow to it that you need to get accustomed to before you can get the most out of your kit. At the core, you have two types of attacks for each character, what we'll call basic and special attacks. Basic is essentially an auto combo where you hit the button and the game essentially starts chaining the attacks together for you. Hold that down and you get a stronger version. You use this to build your AP bar, which allows you to use your other abilities. Special, on the other hand, is more or less unique to each character. Like I said before, I've only gotten to Chapter 5 at the time of recording this, so I'll briefly be going over the characters that are available so far. Cloud, Barret, and Tifa. Cloud has a stance change that slows him down but deals more damage and allows him to counter melee attacks after blocking. This is weak to ranged and magic attacks though. Barret unleashes a barrage of explosive shots that have a cooldown time that can be sped up by tapping the button again. And then there's Tifa. Oh boy is there Tifa. As a quick side tangent, Tifa is what I wish Monk was in Final Fantasy XIV, with a system similar to Monster Hunter World's Longsword. To start, her special attack is upgradable. You use your basic attacks to build AP, which then allows you to use the ability Unbridled Strength. This upgrades your special attack by 1 level and lengthens your basic combo chain. Using it again lets you upgrade it once more. This becomes very devastating after upgrading your weapon tree. Using the special attack after that will drop you 1 level each time. The other great thing about them using action combat here is that it's far less arduous going into encounters with weaker enemies. They're all out in the open so you don't have to deal with the random battles where the flash, battle start sequence, set camera angle, and then single target each one down or hope that you can run away, which then takes you to an ending screen before you can finally get back to the overworld where you take one step and get sucked back into it all over again. Here, you see the enemies and, if you're not on a quest, can choose whether or not to engage them. On a quest, you're still kind of railroaded into them. But in this game, you can take out more than one at a time with your attacks if they're close enough. They go down very easy, and the battle effects that they use are so dang satisfying, even on grunts. The attacks feel heavy, there's a slight camera shake to the stronger attacks, and I will never get bored of staggering enemies and watching those damage numbers just spike. How to get their pressure bar to the staggered state varies with each enemy too, so it may be easy to mow down a lot of these early mobs, but you still have to use your brain a bit. Maybe not much, but it breaks it up just enough for me to stay engaged. Of course, it's a hard jerk once you start facing stronger enemies that do not take kindly to a more unga-bunga smash everything playstyle. But once you get used to their attack patterns, you can find your footing again and devise a strategy. In terms of side quests, you have the option of fast traveling back to the quest giver once you're done. It's pretty standard nowadays, but it's really nice when they don't forget to include it. It's also an option, so you can still keep exploring or chaining your side quests together if they're close by. Also cats. Hey kitty kitty kitty. No wait! If you want continuous action though, this next part probably isn't going to be a selling point for you. As you may have noticed, this is a Final Fantasy game, and they're known for their narrative elements, and this one isn't any different. For me, I love story, and I'm always eager to get to the next scene to see what unfolds next, to witness the development and reactions of these characters, and uncover the underlying plot points that have either been just alluded to, or moving the story forward just beneath the surface. I previously mentioned how much the animations and voice acting have added to this game, and they really do a lot to support the narrative. It's not like they carry the experience, but it gives you the chance to connect to these characters in ways you just can't through text alone. Some of the animations are a little off, but I think that might be due to the difference in Japanese versus English dialogue. Usually I'll go towards the Japanese voiceovers since, in my opinion, they tend to deliver their lines much better and more believably. This time though, the English voice acting isn't an issue at all aside from the aforementioned disconnect with the body language, but I can listen while playing rather than having to focus on subtitles, and that helps a lot. On top of this are the cutscenes. You're basically playing this game and watching a movie at the same time. From the intimate angles of a scene of dialogue to the wild camera work of the action sequences, this game does a lot to enhance what you're seeing on screen and brings out the best of each scene. All of these elements wrapped into one gives me the chance to get attached to these characters, get frustrated at them, feel sorry for them, and whatever else the narrative is trying to communicate. As much as I want to keep going though, once the combat starts up I get sucked back into that aspect and my impatience fades away. For me, every aspect of what this game has to offer hits a good chord, and I'm able to enjoy every aspect on its own as a part of the whole. Even something like walking around the world isn't as mind-numbing as other titles can be since you're changing scenery every hour's worth of gameplay or so. It's broken up well in my opinion, and you can spend the time in each area just enjoying the world that the devs have built around you. Before my final word on this game, I'll also quickly go into the tutorial system and other mechanics that I was new to. I knew materia from Final Fantasy XIV, but this game utilizes these orbs as mini skill trees, or just skills in general. Each has a specific purpose, and the more you use it or do combat with them equipped, the stronger the abilities get. This is signified with a star level system. For instance, Fire Materia gives you the spell Fire, which upgrades to Fyra and Firaga. You can still choose between the three from the menu. This also encourages you to pay attention to your weapon upgrades since some of them will increase the number of materia slots available and allow your kit to be more versatile. There are also materia that give you extra moves like Deadly Dodge or buff your stats like Luck Boost. It's a neat system, and that and the weapon upgrades are simple and straightforward. Not like some other games that make their skill trees 3 screens long and make it nearly impossible to figure out which branch leads where. In terms of story, I already had the advantage of knowing certain elements going in even though I'd never actually played the original game. That being said, there are plot points that they lay out in front of you right away that don't give a whole lot of context up front. Final Fantasy VII is known for having a bit of a convoluted story anyway, and they do at least eventually explain things as though you've never seen anything about it before. So you won't be required to do any reading before getting into this game, though you might want to do some afterwards to tie things together. That kind of thing didn't prevent me from enjoying games like Fire Emblem Three Houses though, so I think you guys will be fine too. In closing, I think this remake is an incredible experience from the onset and can stand on its own 2 legs, at least from the little bit that I've played so far. You don't need to have played the original game to enjoy it, and I encourage anyone who likes good story and action combat to tune out the purest naysayers and give it a shot. There's always a chance things can go sideways for me later like they did in Final Fantasy XV, but at the moment, it's all been nothing but hours of a good time, and I'd honestly still rather be playing than recording this right now. It is on me for taking so long to actually grab my key, so I apologize for this not being more thorough, but I still believe I covered all the main points I found significant towards a good playing experience. I may have more critiques toward the story later on, but the core mechanics of the game are solid, and everything else narratively has been fantastic. Thanks again to Square Enix for giving me the opportunity to review this game. I really appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again soon. To everyone else, stay safe out there, God bless, and I'll see you next time.